Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good night, wherever you are in the world. I know our audience are quite global, so I have to do that every time I come on board. Welcome to another edition of the Broken Not Shattered podcast. And my guest today is no one else but Kristina. Now, if you are living in anywhere in America, this face might be a familiar face. You might have seen it one way or the other on a special news channel. It's news, that's what you guys do, right? It's e-news, am I correct?
Yes, I was on E! News, which is all celebrity and lifestyle, the
There you go.
lifestyles of the rich and famous. I did that, but a lot of lifestyle content as well.
And so we're so happy to have Christina on board. But today it's on a different level, a different story, and we're going to get into it. Welcome to the BNS podcast. It's such a pleasure and a joy to have you on our platform. How are you doing?
I'm so good, and I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to talk to you. When you guys reached out and asked me if I would share my story, what I was really just moved by was broken, not shattered. And I've been broken, right, more times than I care to admit. Um, I think that so many of us are trying to hold it all together, but really, when you're faced with being broken, or maybe being broken wide open, right?
Mhm.
It gives you an opportunity to rebuild. It doesn't mean that it's, not shattered, right? It doesn't mean that it's can't be built back up again. And so that's kind of what I've been doing for most of my life, I guess, but really in the healing, I recognize that I have been broken, and that in that brokenness I've been able to rebuild.
Hmm. Okay, there you go. Thanks for that. Whenever I think about broken, not shattered, or I talk about the BNS podcast, I don't know why there's a little nursery rhyme that keeps on coming into my head.
What's that?
Humpty Dumpty sat on the
Oh,
wall, and Humpty Dumpty had a great. I don't know why.
all the king's horses, all the king's men. Well, they couldn't put him together again, but maybe some therapists
Yes,
could, and maybe some meditation put him back together.
I don't know why it comes to me. Uh, thank you so much. So let's go to the good side first, right? So, celebrity, journalist, host of a show. You've seen some big names on the red carpet. You've seen
Yeah.
the famous. Um, which one person could you say that you met that stood out most for you?
It's actually kind of cliche. So I worked in Hollywood for many, many years, but the pinnacle of my success was when I was at E! News, right? It's an international brand. So
Right.
it birthed the Kardashians.
Yeah,
It's every
yeah.
celebrity has walked through those halls. And so that was the childhood dream that I had. And so having the opportunity to work at this institution was, life-changing, but also just a dream come true and just so fun. But with that being said, and this is so cliche, but really George Clooney is a movie star is a movie star for this reason, because he makes people feel like they're the only ones in the room. And I had the opportunity to interview him, and I was so nervous. He's a big, huge movie star, and maybe there's a little bit of, insecurity. I'm like, who am I? Little old me from, some cow town in Washington State. And I'm about to talk to the biggest movie star in the world. And I was a little intimidated, but, just kind of pulled myself together. And he was so generous with his time and with his energy. And he was kind, and he looked right me in the eyes. He didn't make me feel like I was unimportant. And it truly, for me, was like, oh, that's why you're a movie star. Not because you're gorgeous and talented, but
Which
because
he
you
really
make
is.
he is, right? But there's a lot of gorgeous, talented people who don't
Some
have
people
that
feel that way.
same charisma or that same ability to lock into somebody where you feel like you're the only person. So I've met all of them, so many of them. But he was the one who was just like, whoa, just dreamy. I'm pretty sure like cartoon hearts came out of my eyes.
And I bet he's used to having that.
Probably. Probably.
Wow, that's good. I think the most important thing was how he made you feel.
Yes. Because, working in Hollywood, It's a very superficial place, believe it
Yeah.
or not. And so because there's a lot of superficiality, there's a lot of ego, there's a lot of, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm.
Being able to be grounded with somebody who is, it was really cool to experience, because it wasn't always that way. I mean, it wasn't necessarily the exception, but it really made a huge difference.
Wow, that's good. So the first Latina host on E, how did that make you
Mhm.
feel?
It was such a privilege, because I grew up in a small town in Eastern Washington State. I had aspired to be on television. I watched TV religiously. I just was so connected to it, but I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me on TV, right? A lot of blonde hair, a lot of blue eyes. We're talking 90s,
Mm.
80s and 90s, and I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me. And because I was in a town that didn't, seem to offer a whole lot of opportunity,
Yeah.
that could have been really dejecting, right? And so, but I still, I believe in purpose. I don't know that God wanted me to go and be on red carpets. I don't think he's like a red carpet kind of a guy, but I do believe that he
Give
gave
you
me
surprise.
he gave me a gift of connection and talking, and so, but since I was a little girl, it's what I always wanted to do, but I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me. And so I already knew that, coming into it, there was maybe not going to be a lot of opportunities for me, and or there might not be. And so being able to be the face of an entire group of people who maybe didn't necessarily want to do what I did, but just having that representation that who we are and what we look like matters enough to be on television in that way made a huge difference. I mean, I still hear from people to this day. I've been doing this for 20 years, and they say, I do what I do, whether it's a journalist or in PR or whatever the case is. I do that because I saw you on TV and I thought, if she can do it, then I can do it. That had always been, on top of the fact that it was my dream, I always knew that it was a responsibility to represent the little girls that look like me.
Wow, and you did a great job at it.
Oh,
Great
thank
job.
you.
Great job. Great job. So take us back to January 11th, 2023.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
How did it all
Actually, I'm going to take you back 1 year before that, because
go ahead?
that's really when things started to fall apart for me. In January 2022, I had come to terms with a drinking problem. I am a 42-year-old mommy of two. I am successful. I have a career. I have a home. I have a family, and I have a drinking problem. How did that happen? What was once a, kind of social casual pastime, rite of passage in college, and then in my 20s, and then, just kind of socially acceptable into my late 20s and into my 30s. And I found that my drinking had gotten progressively worse, and that I was using it to numb in ways that no longer reflected like, oh, I'm just doing this for fun. I was really doing it for numbing, right? I was doing it to escape. I was high achieving, overachieving, lots of pressure, lots of anxiety as I was, getting into this kind of new space in my life. And I found one day that I was not able to function without alcohol.
Wow.
It's so interesting, because the idea that we have of what an alcoholic is, right? Or somebody with a drinking problem is. My dad was an alcoholic, right? He lost his family. He couldn't hold down a job. He died when he was 55 years old, virtually alone. He had thrown his whole life away. That is kind of the idea of what we think of as a drinking problem or an alcoholic or an addiction. And I think that there needs to be something to be said about a drinking problem being a problem when it no longer serves you and you don't like who you are when you're doing it. And that's really the point that I had come to, right? I was a binge drinker. So I couldn't have one glass of wine. I'd have 2 bottles of wine, right? I could go the whole week and be completely fine and work and take my boys to soccer practice. But, one night I could, find myself the next morning, like, how did I get here? And it had progressed to this point. And I had come to terms with that on so appropriate on the 1st of January 2022, right after a banger New Year's Eve. And I was like, this is not working and I need to change my life around. And so I spent the next year in recovery. I quit drinking. I didn't do AA or anything like that. I really turned inward spiritually. I surrendered to God in a very, I didn't know what else to do. I've always been a spiritual person, but in this moment I was like, this isn't working in my life. I don't know how to stop it. I don't know how to quit. I don't know that I can. And I surrender. Please save me. And so I spent an entire year healing from that. That's my first crack, if you will, right? As I'm about to be broken wide open. And I spent a year in recovery. I come into January 2023. I feel great. I'm the healthiest I've ever been. I'm clear. My mind is clear. My spirituality is stronger than it's ever been. Mentally, physically, emotionally, I am solid, rock solid. And I get a diagnosis of breast cancer almost exactly a year to my sobriety date. And I had really thought that the year prior, that crack was being glued together, right? I was fixing it all. And I was about to embark on some great, awesome journey. And I was going to be rewarded for all the work that I had put into myself to really transform my life. And then breast cancer. And not just breast cancer, a very aggressive and rare form of breast cancer, where my doctor said, you will die if we do not get this out of your body. I have 2 little boys at home, right? No, I didn't just it's interesting. Initially I was like, I didn't just do all of this work to just get breast cancer. And as a faithful person, I recognized that, oh yes, I did do all of this work to get breast cancer. Because had I not done that work, I wouldn't have been able to be ready for that fight. I wouldn't have been ready physically, right? My health would have been shit. And, but mentally and spiritually solid, I was like, okay, well, this isn't the big thing, the big, great reward I thought I was getting. But yeah, it was a full break, and it was now rock bottom, sobriety, recovery, and now breast cancer. So yeah, to say that I was broken is not an understatement at all.
Wow. How did you feel hearing that news? What was the first thing that came to your mind?
I was very confused. Because a little bit, because I was like, no. I think Good Morning America is going to call and they want me to be on their show. I really thought this big, huge reward was on its way. Also, breast cancer doesn't run in my family. I'm 40 at the time, 43 years old. I'm too young. This was not in the cards. So I was very confused by the whole thing initially, and really kind of shook, and I would say for a little while in denial, for sure.
And then how did you embark on the journey or the treatment? When did you come to terms with it?
I'm a very task-oriented person, right? Very type A personality. I have an assignment and I know how to get it done. So I would say for most of, logically, I was like, okay, I have breast cancer. Every single doctor's appointment that I went to, every MRI that I went to, it was like I was kind of living in these 2 different realities, right? On the one hand, I am very focused on work. I'm taking care of my kids. I'm potty training. not myself, my child, my toddler. I am going to soccer practices. I am doing what I need to do. And I'm also going to a breast surgeon because I'm going to have a mastectomy because I have cancer. It was all just very confusing. And so it was like a to-do list. I'm like, I got soccer practice. I have to go to work. I have to do this. And then I have to go get surgery. And then I have to go for follow. So I just kind of worked in that space for a while. I did a documentary called Walking Through Molasses because I describe it as walking through molasses. Everything was kind of moving in slow motion. Everything was a little bit sticky and like the air was dense and everything was a little bit foggy, but I was still functioning. I'm still moving. I mean, it's very much a survival instinct. And so I would say it wasn't until after my surgery, I had a unilateral mastectomy, and then I had radiation. I didn't do chemotherapy, but I had radiation. And I would say it wasn't until after that I really started to kind of process what I had gone through. And I think I'm still processing it. Like, did that really happen?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Whew. How you coming along?
Oh, it's so interesting because I recognize it's a privilege and that a lot of people don't get to say this because they did not survive cancer. But cancer might have been one of the best things that ever happened to me. It gave me a perspective on life, on the importance of life. It gave me a value in every single day, every single moment in a way that I hadn't before. I mean, a year prior was drinking daily to get out of my life, to be out of my body, to be out of my mind. And here I was with this newfound perspective of the gift of life, right? Because had I not gone to get my mammogram, and then we found this cancer, I might not be here today. That is a very real reality. My children might not have their mom today. And that all of a sudden puts everything into perspective. Everything that I was numbing, everything that I was striving for, everything that I was trying to achieve, that external validation, and then also like the anxiety and the pressure and to perform and to be, and then having to numb all of that because it was too much. I mean, it was a complete 180. I started living my life completely differently afterwards. And today, outside of that, I mean, I'm healthy. I advocate for early detection. I share my story whenever I can because it's so important for women. It's happening younger and younger, and for people in general to take care of themselves and take care of their body, because we think we're heroes. We think we can handle everything. We think nothing bad is ever going to happen to us, and so we take it for granted. And so I always just like to remind people that, like, had I not gone to do that one thing for myself, that mammogram, my kids might not have a mommy right now.
Wow.
And that's not about me. That's about them.
It's about, it's really about them. It's really about them, but it's also about you. Because remember, if you hadn't come to terms with what happened the year before and started preparing yourself, right? You thought you were preparing yourself for something else.
Yeah.
There was something bigger waiting for you that you need to be strong enough, like you said, physically and emotionally, to handle it. We're going to take a break, and when you come back, we're going to share some more insight about this journey and how you've now taken out time to inspire others. It's a quick break, so we'll be back soon on the BNS podcast. And welcome back to the BNS podcast. My guest today is Kristina. Most of you might have known her from E! News back in the days, and she is sharing her story and her journey. I am in awe just listening to you. I won't say starstruck, but I think most importantly is the fact that we actually have you sharing this story on our platform. For those of us who are just joining for the first time, just go back and hear all the great things she has shared so far. So let's move forward. This rare cancer hits you. Um, your life seems to be almost tumbling upside down.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
But you're so focused on recovery, right?
mm-hmm.
The days when you woke up and felt like, I can't do this. Did you have any days like that when you felt like, I can't do this? This is a bit too much for me.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
if you didn't, why?
well, I will say that I didn't when I was going through breast cancer. I had been in such a place of healing and recovery by the time I got to this part of my journey
Yeah.
that I was so connected
Mm,
to my purpose and to my higher power, right?
mm, mm, mm,
God, universe, whatever you believe.
mm,
What I believe in is God. And but prior to that, when I hit rock bottom, recognizing that I had a drinking problem, I did. There were times that I was like, I can't do this. I really had come to a point in my life. I never felt like I wanted to end my life, but I did feel like I can't live like this anymore, but I don't know how to get out of it. And when I say that I surrendered to God, I don't say that like I just surrendered to God.
mm,
I literally got on my knees and prayed, please take this away. I don't want it in my life. It doesn't serve me. And I will tell you that prayer was answered. I didn't recognize it in the moment, but that prayer was answered because a substance that I relied on almost daily to live, right? Whether it was, again, it wasn't like I was stumbling around. It wasn't like I was going to work drunk. I was very much a functioning alcoholic. But it's what I thought about when I walked out the door. When am I going to get my next drink? And then after that prayer, after that surrender, whatever you want from me, I need help. Please help me. I never had a craving again. I never had a craving for alcohol. The one thing that I thought I needed every single day and couldn't live without, to have fun, to manage stress, to be funny, to sleep, all of a sudden, I didn't have that craving anymore. It was gone. I can say, yeah, like I, white knuckled it and I, mind over matter. I could say that, but I don't believe that. I believe that there's a higher power that is at work and that came in to save me and to prepare me for what was coming next. Right. And not only just prepare me for what's coming next in that, like I had to go through breast cancer, but what I am now doing, right? Advocating, sharing my story, trying to inspire, trying to motivate, trying to like tell my life authentically. I could come to you and say, I had my breaking point when I got breast cancer. Like that's big enough.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to just say that without saying, oh, and by the way, I also broke when I had a drinking problem. Right. And also, by the way, I was broken when I had debilitating anxiety prior to that. And but like, there's all of these pieces to me that people who know me from E or people who know me from Instagram or, magazines or interviews or those kinds of things. Yeah, that can be a really pretty shiny face, right? With no problems behind it.
Yeah.
But that for me is like, no, can I share my testimony? Can I share the struggles that I had, the things that I went through, the times that I was broken, and then also let you know that I came out stronger because of it.
Wow.
That's the story that I want to tell.
Wow. That's a good story to sell.
Mm-hmm.
There are many people out there who just want to hear that you know what, I can get over this addiction or the other addiction or whatever challenge they're facing. And I think that prayer of surrender is the ultimate prayer. It's just the ultimate prayer. And I know everyone's case might not be like Kristina's case, where she prayed that thing and instantly she lost the desire and the craving. But some part of people it might take you a while for whatever it is that you went into or find yourself into. There is hope. Those who feel hopeless. And I think This is a voice for the voiceless. It's a platform where you just shared. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I mean, it's just amazing. It's
I'm
amazing. It's
super grateful.
when they see a face like yours sharing, they're like, "Oh my God!" You know, if it could
Hmm.
happen to her, then it could.
Hmm.
I can get delivered. Um, Now you're doing the podcast, and the podcast name "She Believed."
Hmm.
Where did you get that name from? I was curious when my team sent it across to me.
Yeah, well, when it's so originally after so by the way, after I got breast cancer, then my show was canceled and I was unemployed. So the hits just kept on coming for me, right? It was like sobriety, it was like rock bottom, sobriety, recovery, breast cancer. Oh, and then by the way, now you have no job. The career that that you've had as you know it is no longer. Good luck. I was like, oh gosh.
Right.
And so in order to kind of process everything that had transpired, I started writing a book, my memoir, right? And I think what the story that I had always kind of led with in my success when people would ask me about my success and getting to achieve my dreams is, I was a small town girl, grew up in poverty and addiction. My dad was an alcoholic. My mom was on welfare and food stamps, but with grit and tenacity and determination, I made my way to the top and I believed that I could, right? I believed that there was something greater for me. And so she believed she could is kind of a saying that's been around for a long time. And so, she believed she could, so she did is the full saying.
Okay.
You probably have seen it on like at Hobby Lobby and the big, huge, inspirational signs or a tattoo on a tramp stamp or something. She believed she could, so she did. And so I really loved the idea that, I believed that I could when I was little and it didn't really make sense. And so the saying for my book title, She Believed She Could, really kind of made sense for me. And then I did the podcast based on my book, which is a 10 episode series. Each episode is a different chapter in my book, from imposter syndrome to, achieving my dreams, to my addiction, to mommy wine culture, all things that I kind of cover in my book. And so I just shortened it up to She Believed. But really, it's not just about she believed in something that was, this big, huge dream and she moved to Hollywood and then she did it. It's really like she believed that even when she was broken, she could put herself back together. Like that small little piece of belief is what kind of keeps you going, and rising for the next day. And so that's where She Believed came from. It's just having that belief that you are meant and can do more.
Wow. That small faith, as small as a mustard seed,
That's right. Yep.
can make things happen. Wow. That's a lot of faith right there.
It's God given, right? Like
Yes,
people have asked me
yes.
all the time how you got here. I always say, as by the grace of God. I don't know how to explain it other than that, but it's a gift from God for sure.
Don't normally go into this direction, but I just feel strongly led to do that. I'm going to ask you a question. How's your faith walk, your Christian walk? Yeah, I mean, because most people don't talk about stuff like that in most podcasts, but I just felt I can.
Isn't it interesting that talking about spirituality and faith can be so divisive and so controversial?
Yeah, it's amazing.
And so all I can do is just speak from my experiences, that I was raised in a Catholic home and believed in, actually didn't really understand what all that meant, and kind of came to my spirituality later in life, but really kind of used my spirituality and God or the universe as kind of almost like an ATM machine. Like, I need this, so I'm just going to pray for it, and then God will give me what I need. And it wasn't until really my surrender, and then my prayers answered when I hit my rock bottom in my drinking problem, that I decided. Have you ever done this before? I'm sure your listeners have done this before. Like, dear God, if you get me out of this one thing, I promise I will do X, Y, and Z. Right? If I pass this one test,
you go back again to the same one.
And then you kind of go back, right? Hey, guilty is charged.
Guilty too.
But this particular time, seeing how God had worked in my life so miraculously in that point, I decided to really dedicate my life to learning, to understanding, and to having a relationship with my higher power, a give and take, not just I need, I want, but also what can I do for you? How can I serve you? It's very much a give and take. And my service to God, like, he doesn't need anything from me, but he gave me gifts, right? And he gave me a story. And so sometimes he's like, I need you to go and share your story. And I'm like, I don't want to tell people that I had a drinking problem. He's like, I'm going to need you to do that anyway. And I'm like, okay, I said I would do it, so I guess I'm going to do it. It's not always easy, but sometimes I have more questions than answers. Sometimes it all falls into place and it makes exact sense. But I think that's what spirituality and faithfulness kind of is, as you walk on that journey of faith and whatever it is that you choose to believe in.
Wow, that's a good one. Thank you so much for sharing that. I thought I'd just put it out there, I completely align with where you are, and I think someone needs to hear that just to get inspired. Got two more questions or so, and you're going to wrap up. The question I have for you, first of all, will be: look at the camera and just speak to women out there about what they should know, or what you think they should do when it comes to the issue of breast cancer, because there are younger people who are now dealing with it and don't have it in their family. So please, I think it's important.
Yeah, I think for me, what's most important is to share with women the fact that breast cancer is rising in young women. It's rising across demographics, especially in underserved communities like the Black community, the Hispanic community, and that we are susceptible to it. Whether it runs in your family, no matter your age, we are susceptible to it. If you don't get checked and take care of you, I want you to think about the people that count on you. I want you to think about your children. I want you to think about your spouse. I want you to think about your mom and your dad and your brothers and sisters, the people that love you and that need you to be here with them. If you don't do it for you, do it for them.
Wow. And it is an intervention. Go and get checked out on a regular basis.
Yeah. Yes. You should, at 40 years old, you should be getting your mammogram every year, but it's happening to women earlier and earlier. And so making sure that you go to your doctor and that you're doing self breast exams and those kinds of things is super, super important. Just being aware of your body and of your health for sure.
Wow. Okay. So we get to the end of the podcast, and we have something called the drop-off question. Our last guest had asked, not knowing who was going to be today's guest. Yeah. And the drop-off question is very simple and very straightforward. I'm going to read it to make sure I don't make any mistakes.
Okay.
It goes, do you believe in God? And if not, why?
I mean, if that's not God sending in the joke at the end to like really drive it home, right? He's like, that testimony wasn't enough. We got to go back for it one more time.
That's what I thought when I said, oh my God, she's also that person. But again, the answer is, do you believe in God? And if not, why?
Well, here's why I would tell you why I do believe in God. I don't believe that we're meant to walk on this world alone. I don't think that anything, our being here is by accident, but I also don't think that we have all of the tools and capabilities to live on our own. And that's where God comes in to walk with you, to guide you, to create a path for you. And when you believe in that or some semblance of that, I think that you can walk through life with less anxiety, less worry, and more hope and more purpose.
Wow. And she believed.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, it's your turn to leave the drop-off question for the next guest. Whatever is on your mind. I don't know whether it's a he, she. I don't know where they're coming from.
I don't know. But you can see that even after everything that I have gone through, a smile, it's just my general disposition. It's hard for me not to like find joy in moments. It's even in the hardest of my life, I've always found levity, probably in more inappropriate places. But with that being said, I would love to know
Mhm.
What brings you pure, unbridled joy?
Wow. What brings you pure, unbridled joy? And that's the question.
That's the question. Here's mine. I went to Disney World with my boys. It was just the three of us. We had an amazing time, and we were on this roller coaster, and we're screaming and we're laughing and we're just in it. And we get off of that ride and we're just joy, unbridled joy to like the adrenaline and the fun and then the togetherness. For me, that is like unbridled joy.
Wow. Christina, on that note, thank you so much. And I wish you all the best. Keep on having joy. Keep that beautiful smile that we've seen over the years, and we're going to see much more of now in your new phase and your new purpose, whatever God has called you to do. Let's stay in touch one way or the other. And thanks a lot again for being on our podcast. As we wrap up in our three famous words, more love, more peace, and more grace. Please join the BNS podcast. Oh, Kristen, do us a favor, please. Can you follow up our Instagram handle? Because I know that would take our numbers up.
Yes, no, I get that. Man, the algorithm hates me. I just been trying to work towards that, so I get it. I will follow you for sure.
It's called at BNS podcast. Thank you.
I love what you're growing. I love this. I love this community. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate you, and take care. All right. Thank you, guys. Bye. See you next weekend.